The Joe and Idlet Junior Teacher Education Center. Today is Thursday, September 7th, 2023, and I would like to call this meeting to order. The time is 5:01. I ask out of respect to everyone, please silence all electronic devices. Also, if you have any material you wish to share with any board member, please give that to our executive assistant, Mrs. Morey. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, next we go to the adoption of the orders of the day. No consent items to approve. We will move into the public hearing for the proposed final millage rates and the proposed final budget. I'd like to recognize Dr. Moore for this time for the purpose of the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to initiate my comments by thanking Mr. Fagan and team. I think they've been here for about 21 straight days, including Saturday and Sunday, to ensure that this information is accurate, correct, and that we have a level of financial stability in our district. So our intent today is to approve our budget and have a public hearing regarding that budget itself. And Mr. Fagan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Mr. Fagan?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Moore, through the chair and to the board. Before we get started, yes, I want to echo Dr. Moore's comments. Behind me, we have some of my staff members. Total, we have about 167 years of experience, so we have a lot of wealth. Some of these members have been here at the district for 36 years. The most newest one, Deborah, she's only been here a few months, but all in all, they have tremendous experience and knowledge. Now, working late, yes, some of us did work over the Labor Day weekend and some of us didn't, but before that, we were here 10 and 12 hours. We were here on the weekends and et cetera. You could say this work is fun, but sometimes it's very frustrating and very aggravating at times when you're trying to make sure the numbers tie so that when we bring it to the board, we know it's right. At times, I had to drag the team out of here. They would still stay and work when I said it's time to go. We have a little bit of time. Let's go. No, Ron, I need to finish this tonight. No, you're going to leave today, and we're going to come back. Also, special thanks to Ms. Lynn Justin. She's the one who keeps us on task and makes sure I don't miss anything. As an example to the dedication, Stephanie Letts, my senior accountant right there, twice in 2 years has told the Department of Retirement for all the districts and municipalities in the state of Florida that your FRS numbers are wrong because of a spreadsheet that they issue, that she has told them you have hard-coded a number, and it should be variable number based on your district. She's told them twice in 2 years, but since she knows what she's doing, she does it, and she looks at it, she goes, that's wrong. She fixed it. She told them they're still working on that. For me, when you do the budget and the AFR at the end of the year, the annual financial report, it's like Thanksgiving Day dinner. It takes you 10 hours to prepare it, and it takes you about 10 minutes to eat it. And that 10 minutes will be tonight. Moving into the notable highlights. As we know, the district made significant improvements in the 22-23 spring assessments. General fund balance increased by approximately $8 million, and that was planned because of the use of the ESSER money. That $8 million will be used to fund the positions that are coming back from ESSER into the general fund. District long-term debt will decrease 82% by 2027. That's pretty good. And the balance will be paid off by 2032. Charter schools this year will receive a proportionate share of our 1.5 mills. That's about $700,000. That'll go up 20% for the next 5 years. District health plan has a healthy fund balance of $7.6 million. Federal funds decreased $12 million. That was expected because we burned up the ESSER fund, part of the plan. General fund's financial condition ratio is 11% compared to 9% for the prior year. That's an indication of an increase in ending fund balance. State funds decreased by $2.6 million. Local funds increased by $18 million, or 16%. Family empowerment went from $4.5 million to $10 million this year. Tonight, there are 4 items for the board to approve tonight: final millage rates, final budget, annual financial report as of June 30th, and final budget amendments. This is the second of 2 public meetings to discuss and approve the millage rates and the budget as required by the Department of Revenue. The first meeting was on the 24th of July. Trim advertisements were approved on the 17th of July, and advertisements were in the TC Palm on the 21st of July. This meeting was noticed to the public through what we call the direct mailing from the property appraiser's office, known as the trim notice. The millage rates that you're going to approve tonight are the same millage rate that you approved at the tentative, so there's been no change in millage rates, as expected. Your required local effort is 3.1630. Your basic discretionary is 0.7480. Your capital outlay is 1.50, and your voter discretionary is 0.50. Total millage rates for this year is 5.9110. The proposed millage rates actually decreased slightly, 1.24% from the prior year. This is because the property values went up, so the millage rates go down a little bit. The revenue to be generated from all these millage rates is $171,941,758. The total budget for this year is $386,283,641. That's a $21 million increase from the prior year, or approximately 6%. Tonight, you're also approving the annual financial report. This is the annual statements for the district for the end of the prior year. Some notable highlights was your position increased 14.2 million. So this basically means you increased your fund balance, you decreased your debt, you increased your fixed asset, so your net position increased. That's a very good position to be in and demonstrates a strong financial organization. General fund. Revenues were increased by 14% overall from the last year, $10 million from property, $4 million from state. Expenditures were flat. Primarily your salaries and benefits went down because of the use of ESSER as planned, but your other expenditures increased slightly, but they washed each other out, so there was really no increase. Unassigned and assigned fund balance was $19.6 million, which is 11%, which is a very good, strong fund balance that puts us in a high percentile of other districts. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you. I'd open it up to the board for any concerns, questions, discussion. No one? Just, when I look at this, Mr. Fagan, I'm always looking to the future. And obviously with our ESSER funds not coming to us and after this year, and then we look at the millage and going for another millage, what would be your biggest concern with your ESSER and millage and how we continue to align what we want to do to the strategic plan for our students? You know, the ESSER money has helped quite a bit. The millage money helps a lot. So what do you think our biggest challenge will be in the next few years?
Between now and the next couple of years, one, the ESSER money does go away, but we have our last year this year, so we should be able to maintain or increase our fund balance at the end of this year. That'll cushion us for another couple of years. You also have the DOM coming up again, so it will be critical for the district to get the voters to at least approve and maintain that 0.5. Increasing would be a very good idea, but at least maintaining that 0.5. Also, going into the next couple of years with ESSER going away, we hope to get an increase like we did this year from the state and local. If we're able to kind of offset our expenditures with additional state money or local money, over the next couple of years, we should be able to balance that tightrope maneuver. Plus, we're always looking to strategically abandon things that are either no longer in the best interest of the district, streamlining operations, and minimizing expenditures.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Yes, Ms. Rosario?
Mr. Fagan, how many, I don't even know if we do, but how many positions, if we do have any, are sunset positions that are paid out of the ESSER?
To my knowledge, there are no sunset positions in ESSER. There might be one or two, but most of those are not sunset positions.
So the positions that are paid out of ESSER right now, as of September of 2024, if I see that correctly, we have our third ESSER up until September 2024.
Correct.
At that point, what would happen to those positions?
They will come back to general fund, just like the approximately $5 million positions this year came back to general fund.
And would we be, where would we be financially?
Same scenario as this year. This year's fund balance increased $8 million. Those $4 million of positions are coming back. That $8 million covers that. So that makes me solid for 1 year. This year, you're going to have probably either maintain or a slight increase at ending fund balance this year, so that next year when those positions come back, it'll be a threefold approach. One, do I get additional revenue from the state and local? Can I reduce expenditures going into the next year? And what's my fund balance at the end of next year, as well as the looking forward to that millage in '24.
And just to add to that, Madam Chair, if I may, we will be going through an exercise, because as Mr. Fagan always reminds us, we can't make any additional money. We can only cut expenditures. So that the number of initiatives that we have done to improve the quality of instruction, to use ESSER to really put us in a great situation academically. There will be a number of conversations as we move into the next year. Where are the opportunities for us to reduce redundancies, eliminate things that are nice to have, but not necessarily required to have. So we're in an absolutely outstanding place today. But the honeymoon or ESSER days are over, and we're going to have to be extremely intentional regarding things that we fund in order to ensure that we continue to maintain our academic performance or continue to improve our academic performance, while at the same time looking to continue to shrink the system in order to make sure we're always going to be in the same place we are today financially.
Mr. Fagan?
If I can also, sorry.
Oh,
Mr.
go ahead.
Rosario?
I was also going to add too that, you know, part of the strategy is and Ms. Dr. Moore is repeating the famous words of Mr. Barefoot when he told me at a couple of meetings ago, yes, you can't control your revenues, but you can control your expenditures, and have good luck, Mr. Fagan. The other scenario is that grants, as many as we have a strong grants office, as long as we're going out and getting new grants, we're trying to move some of those general expenditures over there. That does two things. One, if I do have some people coming back from ESSER, if I can move someone to a grant, that kind of makes that a little bit cost neutral. Two, there might be other opportunities for other grants that allows me to move. The other scenario too is we always look at our federal grants, IDA, Title I, and et cetera, to make sure we're using them optimally. If there's any flexibility there where we can move positions to make sure students have the services that they need.
Ms. Rosario?
Yeah, that was exactly what I had here with a question mark for grants, because I'm on that page, so thank you for adding ESSER as you did and including the itemized, the detailed report there. But right after that, on page 155, there is a list of grants, other federal ESSER ARP grants. And what I'm not sure of is what is ARP? And then where can we find the grants that we have generated? Because I know that we've brought in millions, right?
Okay.
At this point?
So ARP stands for American Rescue Plan, is that
Okay.
right?
Yes.
American Rescue Plan. So that's the federal grants, so you want to know where the general grants are. So if we go to page 106. You're in the final budget book, yes?
Yes, sir.
If you turn to page 106, those are grants, general grants, as of 8/22, total $3.9 million. So those are your general fund grants outside of ESSER.
Where are you?
Page 106,
Oh, I'm looking at the chart.
it should be a chart, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Page 106.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 3.9 million. Hopefully you got the same book I got.
3.9, oh, okay, I see it.
Okay. So as of that date and time for 22-23, it was 3.9. And then for 23-24, tentative right now, we're not totally done with when this book was published, it's approximately 3.7 or rollover money.
Okay, so everything on this page, oh, you even included Moonshot. I'm talking about the ones that we generated with our grants writers.
Some of those are here, and
They should all be here, no?
most of them, the literacy coaches. Split between general and federal, so if there any grant that was written
Oh,
by the
that's
office
right.
is in this area, such as literacy coaches are in there. The line number 19, driver's choice grant, that was written by the grants department. Pathways, that's a carryover from the prior year. Pipeline on line 13, that's a carryover from the prior year. Moonshot is there. Now, a lot of the grants that are for 23-24, a lot of them expired, and you're only seeing a rollover balance from 22-23. So the new grants that we've gotten this year are not yet recorded.
So part of what we were told, and I don't know how that works internally, is that the grants writers would pay for their own salary out of the grants that they receive.
To the
So-
chair, for the most part, yes, for any grant, there's generally what they call indirect expense, indirect cost. So I can charge, sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it's up to 15% that we can charge for indirect cost. That indirect cost offsets the cost of those grant writers.
Are we doing that?
Yes, ma'am. For any grant that allows us. Now, you also have the same option with your federal grants. Federal grants allow you to charge indirect cost as well. So if a grant allows for indirect costs, we always charge indirect costs. So that brings money back into the general fund. Overall, yes, they are probably covering most of their costs, but I'm also getting that offset with any kind of federal grants, any other grants that come in as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Moore, just one thing I know that I love hearing, that we will do our best even when maybe the revenue goes down to keep our people. I was here in 2008 when there was a massive cut for personnel, and I don't want to see that again.
And we've done everything in our power to, the increase in fund balance is something this team should be extremely proud of, and it positions us in a way to give those assurances.
Thank
It doesn't
you.
mean you don't look for redundancies, and it doesn't mean you don't make decisions in an extremely proactive way that
Right.
allows you to look 2 and 3 years out. I think that's where we are as a system. We're not reacting to next year's financial
Correct.
reality. We're reacting to what 3 years out will be and preparing ourselves in a way where we don't have to have that kind of harm and hurt in our community.
And when we, as a principal, when we were told when we had site-based budgeting, you have to cut 8 people, and you just hope that retirement, attrition, all that works so that
Well, they just
people
stopped paying
didn't
us
lose a
in
job.
Miami. They took administrators' pay
I
for a
know.
few days.
All right, anything else? All right, we are now on the public hearing on final millage rates. This item deals with the 23-24 proposed final millage rates. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statute?
Yes.
We now recess this meeting to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
Anyone in the audience would like to speak? The chair concludes that the announced public hearing on September 7th, 2023 has been conducted pursuant to notice and that ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is reconvened at this time. We now have the approval of Resolution 2404, adoption of the final millage rates. This is the official board approval of Resolution 2024-04 that represent required local effort, basic discretionary, additional voted and capital outlay by Resolution 2405. The chairman will call for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Pasca. Motion and a second.
Second.
Ms. Rosario. Thank you. I would like now to recognize Mrs. Morey for a roll call.
Dr. Pasca,
Aye.
Mrs. Rosario,
Aye.
Dr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Barrenborn,
Aye.
Mr. Barefoot.
Aye.
All right, the motion passed with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is public hearing for the proposed budget, the 23-24 final budget and final millage rates. Annually, the district is required to prepare and present the annual budget for the upcoming year in accordance with School Board Policy 6233, along with Charter 200 of the Florida statute. The budget in 23-24 includes the following funds: General Fund, Debt Service Fund, Capital Projects Fund, Special Revenue Fund, Food Service Fund, Internal Fund, and Enterprise Fund. The chairman now opens the floor to board members for discussion. Board members, any discussion? Ms. Barrenborn.
No, I just wanted to thank Mr. Fagan and his staff for all their hard work and for answering all my questions that I had and sitting down with me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Barrenborn. All right, no other further discussion. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statute?
Yes, ma'am.
We now recess this meeting to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
And anyone in the audience like to speak? The chair concludes that the announced public hearing on September 7th, 2023 has been conducted pursuant to notice and that ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is reconvened at this time. Public hearing on the proposed budget. Approval of Resolution 2024-05 for the adoption of 23-24 final budget and approval of the 22-23 annual financial report dated as of June 30th, 2023, inclusive of the cost report and the 22-23 final budget amendments for fiscal year 22-23, number 10. Adoption of the final budget, requesting the approval of the Resolution 2024-05 that represents all funds required by the district to execute all duties and responsibilities of the School Board of Indian River County. The total final budget being $386,283,641. And the 22-23 annual financial report inclusive of the cost report. The 22-23 financial report in accordance with the SB Rule 6A 1.0008 and 6A 10071, inclusive of the cost report in accordance with Florida Statute 101020, are submitted for the use and consideration of the board for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, as presented, and the 22-23 final budget amendments by fiscal year 22-23, number 10. The chairman would call for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Posca. A second?
I'll second.
Ms. Rosario? Chairman recognizes Mrs. Moore for a roll call.
Dr. Posca,
Aye.
Mrs. Rosario,
Aye.
Dr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Barrenborg,
Aye.
Mr. Barefoot.
Aye.
Chairman concludes the motion passes with a vote of 5-0. At this time, we have the closing of the meeting, and the chairman adjourns this meeting at 5:23.